Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Geno Smith put him to sleep, everybody. Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. I'm Niko Tamurian, alongside a guy who's still sleeping. Still not writing back in Najee Moye. What's up, Najee?
How about that? Niko, I'm still jazzed. It's been days.
That was awesome.
It's been days since the San Francisco 49ers game, and I am jazzed just watching that game.
Hey,
just watching him work.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Who did it better? Was it Steph Curry, where that originated from, being in the Bay Area?
Right.
And certainly the Olympics, that was iconic. Or was
Yeah.
it Geno finally conquering the Niners? Who did it better thanks to the Seahawks?
I loved. It's not even that Geno did it better. He did the Selly better, obviously.
Yeah.
It was better because it was a game they needed to have. They
Yeah.
desperately needed to have it, coming off of some, I don't want to say some bad games, but they did have some bad games leading up to that. Just going on the road in San Francisco, tough team to play, division rival, 3-year streak, and we're sleeping on them right now.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the thing. I mean, first of all, Geno
running for a touchdown at
has
the end.
epic celebrations with the
Yes.
sleep and not writing people back. But to your point with that, also has some pretty epic late game performances in just 3 seasons as the starting quarterback of the Seahawks.
Yeah, he definitely took some. I'm thinking specifically about that last drive. Definitely took some risks. Definitely, I was watching the fourth quarter and I was like, this is usually when a snap goes over someone's head. This is when someone, which didn't happen. This is when a penalty would happen that would just bring back only 4 penalties the whole game. It's not bad, you know. I know it was a very close game, and I know that it was, both teams are fighting for definitely playoff position or get in the playoffs or even separate themselves from the rest of the division. It was necessary. It was exactly what the doctor ordered, especially after some really tough weeks. And if you're a Seahawks fan, you're fired up.
Yeah.
As Geno is.
Did that save the season?
That definitely.
I think so, too.
I think it's hard to say because it's the first year in the Mike Macdonald era.
Sure.
We're just over halfway through the season. Right. Saving the season, I can definitely tell you that salvaged the season. Definitely the win of the year.
I agree
would
with
say.
all of
So
this.
This is definitely a win that Mike Macdonald can hang his hat on. Like, hey, we do more things like this. Before it was the Atlanta game, and we go on the road, San Francisco division rival, and we just show them that Geno Smith hasn't written back. He's the captain of the team. He's leading the team, and he can put the team on his back. We know he's got wheels, and he did that. So I don't know. Next.
Well, that's the mentality at the VMAC. I promise you that. I do think it saved the season, and I think it saved the season from the standpoint of, okay, it's one game, but it's the Niners. It's the team you hadn't beaten since 2021. It's the team you had lost 6 in a row against. And looking at the larger picture of this, it's divisional chaos now.
Yeah.
Because you have 3 teams at 5-5, and lo and behold, the Seahawks, and we're going to talk more about this matchup in a second, but the Seahawks now hosting the Arizona Cardinals with first place in the NFC West on the line. And because of this one win, did it save the season? Well, we won't know that answer until January. But did it save the season for right now? Heck yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Because this one win allows now this Arizona game to be a first-place matchup. Had the Niners won that game, the Seahawks are scrapping and fighting for their lives.
We're having a different conversation.
We're talking about, do there need to be more permanent changes? And I don't think those happen now, at least in this moment, because of the way this team fights. And by permanent changes, that can mean a lot of things. I'm being vague intentionally because we didn't have to go there. If we had to go there, I would go there. But we didn't have to go there because Geno Smith is clutch. The Seahawks, one thing I've noticed, Najee, is when they come off of a bye week, which they did in this game, or maybe as Mike Macdonald called it, a mini bye. Remember they lost to the Niners and they had 10 days before they had Atlanta, and they played previously their best game of the season.
Right.
When you give Mike Macdonald a little extra time, it seems to be, my goodness, that defense was outstanding. And additionally, it says a lot about the fight and resilience of this team that, they bounced back from those tough losses you were talking about a minute ago. Those bad losses, quite frankly.
They were awful.
They bounced back from a really tough bye week from the standpoint of you release your starting linebacker who started every game, Tyrell Dotson, just let him go. You see your starting center retired. There's all sorts of adversity, so to speak. Yet you bounce back with your best win of the season. And even within this game, the response in the final few minutes to get the go-ahead score, the response to make something happen after a couple of tough turnovers. This was really, I keep saying bouncing back, the response. To me, that is the story here. The way they responded, not just in that game, not just in the course of the season, but in the way they fought back from so much on and off the field.
And, look at, if you talk about the Niners specifically, this is basically the same Niners team. I know there's injuries across the ball, and we saw maybe the Seahawks caught a break with Bosa going out in the fourth quarter. Hey,
sure,
they'll take it. They'll take
whatever.
It definitely. Whatever they, and honestly, but it really doesn't matter. The Seahawks definitely came out on top. They definitely were ready. They definitely had a lot less penalties. They were a really high penalized team in the weeks leading up. They only had 4 penalties the whole game. The Niners had 9.
Yeah.
Which it's very uncharacteristic of a Shanahan team. But they had Christian McCaffrey come back. Brock Purdy still a little gimpy. He has shoulder. He has having shoulder issues now. Not really. The receiving core is a little bit banged up there, but this is still, pedigree-wise, a very good Niners team.
Yeah.
That can run with a lot of different people, and so this win is very important on that regard also.
Important because it makes this next game super important as well.
Right, exactly.
Let's talk about this matchup with the Cardinals. I mean, gosh, just a week ago, could you have fathomed that the Seahawks would be in first place by November 24th? Maybe not.
Well, they were in first place early in the year.
Yeah, right?
That's true.
But, I mean, it was tightly packed, but I mean, the way things were going, it
Right.
didn't look so good.
You really have, but the thing about this division is all 4 of these teams are so close together. When you talk about the Rams now getting their receivers back, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back, the Cardinals playing as good. Like I said before, I'm not a Cardinals fan at all, but I can tell you that they are better than records say that they are. You know? But all these teams are very, very close. I mean, like record-wise, obviously, but there's maybe this much separation between all 4 of them in this division. What are you expecting to see, Niko, from the Seahawks specifically?
Well, you would like to see them have maybe turned a corner.
Yeah.
The only worry I have in that regard is that we thought that happened against the Falcons, and then they played probably their worst game of the season against the Buffalo Bills.
That being said, Buffalo just took down an undefeated Chiefs team. Buffalo may be the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, sure.
However, the Hawks beat themselves before they can even think about
and it makes
beating
you think,
Buffalo.
like, okay, maybe they could have had something if they weren't playing so poorly. But
Exactly.
I think that this team has found something, and I'm going to tell you what they found. They found Ernest Jones IV, and I look at this Mike McDonald defense, and you maybe should have kept Bobby Wagner. Maybe he on paper wasn't the perfect fit for what McDonald's scheme requires, and that's okay. But it's clear that it wasn't working with Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dotson, and that's why they no longer wear a Seahawks uniform. Making the trade for Ernest Jones, he said it. I loved it. His first day in town, first thing we asked him, I should say, as members of the Seattle media, what kind of player is Seattle getting? He says, I'm a dog.
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah, man.
That's all you need to know.
I love that. That's what you want.
Yeah.
And you watch him out there. He is perfect for this defense.
Right.
And I think that his first game was the Buffalo game. And then it takes
He was
time.
everywhere, yeah. Do you think that the Seahawks have found another Bobby Wagner-esque in the leadership, which is something I think the defense has definitely needed.
From a leader standpoint, yes.
Right.
Bobby being Bobby, it's hard to replicate that, right? But
Sure.
As far as finding the leader that, no offense to Dotson and Baker, maybe they didn't have. I thought that Dotson was a good leader. Like, I don't want to knock on him.
Right.
I just felt like it wasn't entirely the right fit.
Jones leading
and that's
by
why
example.
when Jones came in for the 2 games that Dotson was still here, they slid Dotson over, right?
Right.
To play outside linebacker.
Right.
So I just think the middle linebacker, as you know, is obviously like heart and soul of your defense.
Sure.
And now you got a dog there, a guy that and he's my favorite part about it, Naj, is saying like Jones and Mike McDonald. Like Jones says, I want to be here for a long time. Like he knows already.
Yeah.
Not just this defense, but this city and that franchise. And how do you not love that?
Of course.
And I think we found something here.
Yeah.
I like the defensive line already. I love the secondary. It was linebacker that we had questions about. Lo and behold, the first game that Jones has really had time to digest something. Remember, when they traded for him, he came over on a Wednesday, and then he's playing on Sunday.
A quick turnaround.
Like, that's really quick.
Yeah.
And so I thought he played well. I thought he did some nice things, but to really, truly own and be in charge, so to speak, as like the player play caller on the field, it takes a couple weeks if you're really good, and Ernest Jones is really good. And so that's part of the reason. You asked me one question about how I think about things. That's my long, drawn-out answer to the thing. I think we've hit a corner here.
Right. Well, definitely. I mean, and you don't want what you don't want to see is you don't want the walking forward one step and then going back two more steps after, for example, the Atlanta game to the Buffalo game. Things just went from great to not so great. We've seen how good this team can be, obviously, and we see how bad they can be also. It shows with their record they're exactly even.
I really think this thing goes down to the wire, not just this Sunday, but for the season.
This is another example.
It's going to be like the last 2 years.
Yeah,
the last weekend.
Oh yeah, but now we know that the Seahawks can definitely beat the Niners on the road, no less.
Yeah.
Which is something that has been a thorn in their sides for years. This week is another example of the crucible of fantastic quarterbacks that the Seahawks have had to go up against. Yeah. This guy, Kyler Murray, one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks.
It's fun to watch.
And Kyler Murray, great quarterback, also even better Call of Duty player as well. But he's a guy who's uniquely designed for that Cardinals offense, and giving a guy like Murray, Marvin Harrison, a little bit dangerous. So, But that being said, I'm excited for the matchup. I'm excited about the cornerback matchup. Maybe you have Reek or Spoon Spoon against Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that'd be great. I say this as someone who has James Conner on their fantasy team right now.
Is that like our fantasy best bet thing?
No, because I don't think he's gonna do well at all.
Yeah.
No, and it's gonna be I don't want to say a garbage weekend in Seattle weather-wise, but it's going to be a garbage weekend in Seattle weather-wise. As you know, let's be honest.
You don't have to pull punches when the weather here.
Yeah, it's been we're dealing with the bomb cycle right now. Another one maybe on Friday, and more rain this weekend. That only helps the Seahawks, and most importantly, I'm looking at you guys, Seahawks. We have to take back the house.
Right.
Lumen Field is a walking home field advantage, except that it doesn't walk.
They've lost 4 in a row at Lumen Field,
and this is a great time to keep this momentum going. You took it from San Francisco, take it to San Francisco, to Lumen Field against another divisional foe. Back-to-back divisional wins. Come on now, that will be massive.
Way, Geno Smith is a bomb cyclone.
He is,
because
literally.
By definition, bombogenesis is just the rapid deepening of the low pressure, rapid intensification of the storm. And what we saw at the end of the Niners game was the rapid intensification of the Seahawks pulling out a win.
We need to get a little AMS graphic next to Niko.
Did you like that weather comparison?
What was that? Bombogenesis.
Bombogenesis. And normally we just call it cyclogenesis. It's just the idea of the low pressure deepening, air wrapping around it, and that's how you get your storm. In the most basic of terms.
If Geno Smith needed a nickname, and Bombogenesis is a great nickname.
Bomb Cyclone might be better.
I don't know. Bombogenesis is pretty sick. I kind of like that.
I'll ask him.
No, but seriously, I think, he's one of the league leaders in passing yards. We saw what having DK Metcalf back in the lineup can do. I really was almost concerned about, and Geno, when he has DK, he just rips it. There was a point. There was a ball that he threw in the fourth quarter that was. Imagine this.
I know which one you're talking about too. Yeah.
This is the defender's hands, so close. I mean, so close, and DK was right there just to catch it. And obviously, DK was upset that he couldn't turn and run because it's just the way the momentum. It was a hell of a catch, though. It was a heck of a catch, and honestly, what I think the Seahawks need to do, and honestly, I know DK and Jason is one of my another favorite.
Yeah,
players
he looked good. Yeah,
he looked fantastic. If the Seahawks can get the run game going early, I mean. 1-2-3 run, 1-2-3 run, 1-2-3 run. I mean, honestly, and go some play action. Geno down the field with.
That's what he's at his best.
I predicted it once with the Atlanta game.
Yeah.
Geno, play action pass, DK Metcalf down the right or left.
This is what we talked about. The idea that it's not just what DK does in the stat sheet, or that catch was amazing. And it led to the K9
or even
touchdown.
Him being, just playing a little distraction compared to for everyone else.
That's just that he opens everything up for everybody else because you no longer, like you could in the Rams or Bills game, focused, I don't want to say solely, but
only on Lockett or in JSN.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it opens things up for the run game, everything else. It's a lot to like here heading into this Arizona matchup, which, again, is a matchup that I hate to say you have to have it because we've said that 4 or 5 games in a row. But suddenly, when you consider you can be in first place.
Hey, you gotta have it. I
think you gotta have it. And then you got Arizona, the Jets, and Arizona again.
Here's the thing:
we're talking about a 3-game stretch that can
win 3 games.
We talked about this.
Yeah,
how this stretch of 3 divisional games in 4 weeks was going to make or break the season. Step 1 accomplished. Right.
Yeah, and they can definitely beat the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals a lot, but it's a team that they can beat. The Jets are in shambles right now. Well, I talked about that crucible of great quarterbacks. Say what you want about the Jets. I just did. They're not great. But Aaron Rodgers is he's still Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
And that being said, he's 4,500 years old. So I think the Hawks can win the next 3 if they play the way they did against San Francisco, or even half as good as they did against Atlanta earlier in the year. But you just can't have a game like the Giants game or the Bills game.
Yeah.
You need to focus up on snapping the ball properly. Not
the Giants and the Rams games, if the Seahawks fall short, are the ones we're gonna
it's gonna haunt you.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this Cardinals game. I think the Seahawks will I think they'll win. I think they'll win.
I do too now.
It won't be a massive win. Division games are generally close.
I think it'll be a strong showing from the Hawks. I think that they go into this thing and they win it like 23-14 or something like that.
Oh.
I like the way the defense is playing.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm sorry, as talented as Kyler Murray is, I just cannot wait to see what Mike McDonald cooks up. To throw him into all sorts of confusion.
I know Kyler Murray was in conversation a little bit earlier this year for MVP, maybe.
Yeah, he was doing great things.
He was doing great things. I always think about him playing against the Jets earlier this year and him getting laid out by – and that wasn't an offensive line thing. That was him not switching over the coverage. I mean, the guy ran completely over.
Yeah.
Free, blindside Kyler Murray. His helmet flew 20 yards.
Yeah.
Things like that can happen again,
right.
Especially with this Mike McDonald defense. It's not at its best right now. It's on the way.
Right.
The bones are there. So I don't know. I'm excited for this game. I think it'll be a very interesting game. Like I said, the Cardinals are better than people think they are.
For sure. They're better than they've been the last couple of years.
It's true. Yeah, and they definitely have a run game. James Conner is a guy.
Yeah.
He's a whole human being and a half.
And my fantasy advice is to pick up his backup, Trey Benson.
Really?
We're gonna pop that up. Why not?
Let's talk about it. I need to look at my.
I'm going with Trey Benson. He had some couple nice games fantasy wise.
Right.
Connor's still the guy. So I think Benson's a little bit more than a handcuff.
Right. But also, little parentheses. This is the Cardinals coming off of a bye week, also.
Right.
Which.
It's concerning.
It's mildly concerning. But,
yeah. Who do you like on your fantasy end before we bounce back?
I want to point out by saying first of all that I am 7-5 in the KOMO Sleeper League right now.
I don't care about the KOMO League.
I do because
I'm out of the playoffs.
Because I'm 7-4. This guy I picked up a couple weeks ago, and he may be his name is I can't pronounce his name. Adonai Mitchell.
Oh yeah,
from the Indianapolis Colts. Now, because of the unique way the Colts have been doing things on offense, more passes have been going to him. Pick him up. Okay, he got me about 20 points last week.
Nice.
Low week this week, but I think with the return of Anthony Richardson, he's throwing the ball much better, spreading the ball around much better. I think you can pick him up this week. He's available. If he was available in our sleeper league with the deepest league ever with 12 teams and 14 teams, 4 flex positions, no kick or defense, and he was available.
And 6 bench spots.
And 6
7,
bench spots.
I think.
So we'll see. Pick him up.
Yeah, I like that. Najee, I think it's that time. We made that prediction. I gave my prediction 23-14 Seahawks.
I'm going to go 17-10 Seahawks.
Okay, I like that too. I think these are like the game we saw against the Niners. I think it's going to be that's how they're going to win games.
I think it serves the Seahawks to maybe have this be a lower scoring game.
Okay.
Now I talked about the offense kind of, in DK Metcalf but I'm thinking about chunk plays that's going to win this game certainly.
Right.
Running the ball is going to win this game certainly. The Seahawks I think are a much tougher team, than the Cardinals, for sure, especially at home. This is a game that the Hawks need to win, especially at Lumen Field. Can you imagine 2 games in a row, 2 division games in Lumen Field? First year head coach should be 6-5 leading the division. A tough division.
This win goes a long way, and not just for this season, but it helps change a lot of the momentum, the vibes around the thing, especially after beating the Niners the way you did. I think it's big, and I think that it could be special, and I think it will be special. I think they're going to get the win. They're going to be 6-5, and then go into the Jets, and who knows what happens.
I'm hoping that we're right because 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, we were incorrect about the Niners game.
We were, and I think everybody was.
I think everyone was.
I'd say 90% of people were.
Right. Yeah. I know I was. I was going with trends, and we just look at the Niners and just kind of the big scary Niners, and things just didn't look good at the time for the Seahawks. Buck the trend. Yeah. things are looking up.
I agree.
It's a week-to-week league.
Yeah.
What are your best bets this week, Niko?
Yeah. Well, first of all, shout out to John Vu who makes our graphics.
Shout out to John Vu.
So I'm going to bring up the nice one he made us for our best bets. I like the Ravens 2.5 over the Cardinals, or excuse me, Ravens 2.5 over the Chargers.
I was like, this game is really unique. Here's the thing. I have bet on the Ravens a lot this year.
Sure.
And it did not pay off last week. The Steelers game was a great game. Russ is cooking. I know it's funny. I feel like all of the city of Seattle just watching Russ in Pittsburgh and just like,
yeah,
rooting for him silently.
Why not?
In an odd way.
He brought this city its only Super Bowl.
Yeah. Right. That being said, this bet I'm gonna choose is not great for the Seahawks. Talking about the division,
Yeah.
Rams is essentially a pickup against the Eagles.
Yeah.
I really feel like the Rams. I know it's like a 1-point spread. I really feel like the Rams can just outright beat them and beat them by quite a bit. I know Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts, but the Rams team, Matthew Stafford has been throwing some bombs lately.
Yeah.
Not bomb cyclones, and he's got his two guys back. That defense is stepping up also.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to go with. The Rams at home against the Eagles going across country. It's never great. Jalen Hurts might be throwing 3 picks, and Saquon Barkley may not even be able to run as free as he wants to.
Yeah, I hear you there. Last points on the Seahawks Cardinals. What's the key you're looking for in this game?
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see. I mean, I don't think this is the type of team, and I've been calling for that. That K9 gets 20 carries and Charbonnet gets 15. But I think if the Seahawks can start fast on the ground, there's no stopping them in this game.
Right.
Right.
No, I agree with that. My key is, I've kind of alluded to it a few minutes ago, I want to see the next steps of this defense. And I think we're going to.
Right.
Mike McDonald is the defensive guru, the defensive Sean McVay, all these things. And we haven't seen it at times. But now I think the defense is healthy.
Right.
B, we're seeing, again, we talked about Ernest Jones at length a little while ago. We're seeing guys fit into roles better to the point where, San Francisco had some injuries. Okay, we're not going to escape that. Kittle out. But I ultimately think that this team is going to rely on its defense to make the necessary plays, to hold the other team in check. And in theory, Ryan Grubb's got an explosive offense. We've seen it at times.
Right.
You just got to make sure the defense can hold these guys back and make sure that Grubb's now his offense is about at full strength, and great to see Abe Lucas back, and we can see what they do. But I think it starts with the defense, and it starts with the kind of effort that we saw against the San Francisco 49ers. I think that's going to be key.
I want to piggyback off of that, making sure that Kyler Murray does not get away from you.
Yeah, you got to spy on him.
You got to spy him. You got to keep an eye on him. He's like 4'4", and he'll run everywhere. Little parentheses also, if the Seahawks can maybe limit, we saw 4 penalties all week last week. If the less the Seahawks can shoot themselves in their own foot, the better off for them.
Yeah. That's key.
And that's key, but I mean, it sounds obvious, but clean football wins games.
Yeah. Shout out to Moye tipping a couple passes.
How about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just the fancy plays. Like
right.
These guys, when you have guys like that, it's almost like the equivalent of a hockey player diving in front of a puck, although that's probably a little more dangerous. You want to see the guys do the selfless plays that aren't going to show up on, the highlight necessarily unless it was truly key, that sort of thing. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from your team. And I think we're seeing that more and more from a Seahawks team that after everything that went poorly that we had chronicled on this show in recent weeks, the response. There it is again, the response. They found a way. Instead of folding, they've come together. And who knows, Najee, if they're going to make the playoffs or not. But my goodness, they put themselves in a position to at least bounce back.
How about this, you guys? First year under the Mike McDonald era, you're 500. You can take the division by just winning games.
Yeah.
You just got to do it. And they've come a long way since then. I mean, from the 3-0 start, losing 3, this is the time for them to dig their heels in and just show the league that they're an actual good team, but they have to play that way as well.
Yes. You control your destiny. And normally you can't say that for a second-place team, but the fact you play the Cardinals twice,
right?
If you win these 2, if you beat the Rams in the finale, things are cooking. And certainly it would help to beat some of the other out-of-division opponents as well.
I talked about how tough the schedule is. I think these next 3 games, these 2 against the Cardinals and the Jets sandwich in between, you got to have it.
They could be a major difference.
Could be.
Najee, this was a lot of fun.
I love it.
We love bringing you the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. What's so unique about it, as Najee goes to sleep, as Geno Smith told us to do on Sunday, we love that, I'm able to talk to these players. I'm at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. I'm in the locker room. I'm able to catch up with these guys and get firsthand insight from whether it's the players or head coach Mike McDonald. Najee's there too. Najee's in my ear telling me what to say on TV so I don't sound completely out of left field. It usually works out, I think.
It generally works out. Yeah, no, Niko he's literally everywhere, and we're both everywhere as well.
Yes, we love it. So we love bringing you this. Make sure you download this wherever you get your podcasts, or make sure, of course, you check it out on the KOMO News YouTube page. And for all our YouTube fans on there, we really appreciate your comments. We had some fun comments after the Rapid Reaction edition on Sunday night after the Hawks win. So keep those coming. We'll certainly bring up those comments on future shows. So for Najee Moye, I'm Niko Tamurian. Go Hawks. We'll see you next week.
Go Hawks.